Judge Blackstone, I need to ask what's going on here.
Officer, he said I'm in trouble, but I didn't do anything.
This is official juvenile business. Officer, stay in your lane.
Sir, step back. I'm speaking with him.
The first call of the day felt routine, but what Officer Aaron Mitchell stumbled into at the Riverside Community Center would change his life, and the city, forever. It was 2:15 p.m. on a Tuesday when dispatch reported a disturbance at the center. Aaron, a 24-year-old rookie cop, just 3 weeks out of the academy, expected maybe a small argument among teenagers. Instead, he found something far more disturbing. A judge, known and respected in the city, pressuring a teenage boy in a way that made Aaron's instincts scream, something is very wrong here. Before we dive further, I want to ask you, where are you watching from right now? Drop your city in the comments, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button because what happens next will keep you on the edge of your seat. Aaron grew up in this neighborhood. He knew every corner store, every basketball court, every family struggling to get by. His mother worked 2 jobs to put him through college, and his father's advice always echoed in his head. Do the right thing, even when no one is watching. That lesson would be tested in ways he could never imagine. At the center, Judge Leonard Hawthorne, a 62-year-old man with over 15 years on the bench, stood near the entrance. He was supposed to be there for routine community outreach, checking on youth programs. But the boy he was speaking to, minus 16-year-old Devin Harris, was tense, his body leaning back with every step the judge took closer. Devin was a high-achieving student, living with his single mother who worked long hours as a nurse. His dreams of college and engineering hung in the balance, but at that moment, his safety felt uncertain. Aaron approached slowly, hand near his radio. "Judge Hawthorne," he said politely, "is everything all right here?" The judge's face shifted instantly from concern to commanding. "Officer, thank you for checking in," he said smoothly. "I'm just making sure these kids are following the rules. Devin here has been causing some issues." Devin's eyes darted to Aaron. He opened his mouth but didn't speak. The fear and confusion in that glance were enough for Aaron to know something wasn't right. Instead of walking away, Aaron stayed. He asked the center's director, Mrs. Ellen Carter, about Devin. She frowned. "Devin? He's one of our most responsible teens. Always helping others, always volunteering. Nothing like what the judge just described." She hesitated. "But the judge has been coming around a lot lately, always focusing on older boys. Some of them seem uneasy after he talks with them." Aaron then talked quietly with a few other teens. At first, they climbed up. But after seeing his genuine concern and knowing him from the neighborhood, they began sharing. One boy, 17-year-old Jamal Ellis, spoke nervously. "He asked me questions about my home, my family, and about stuff that isn't even on record. I don't have any problems with the law, but he acted like he knew all about me." Another teen, 16-year-old Anthony Green, added, "He told me he'd seen things I never did, and that I should be careful. I told him he was wrong, but he just kept insisting he knew everything." Aaron began connecting the dots. The judge wasn't just overstepping. He was targeting vulnerable kids, mostly boys from single-parent or low-income families, and making them afraid by pretending he had legal power over their lives. He was manipulating them before even filing any charges. Aaron's mind raced. He was a rookie. Accusing a judge could destroy his career. But doing nothing meant abandoning kids who could be set up for life-altering legal trouble. He remembered his father's words. Do the right thing, even if everyone's watching now. He started documenting everything meticulously. Times, dates, conversations, witness contacts, even photographs of the center. He began keeping a detailed journal of Judge Hawthorne's behavior. Within days, Aaron noticed a pattern. The judge had been visiting the center repeatedly, focusing on specific boys. Then months later, some of these same teens ended up in court facing charges they swore they hadn't committed. Aaron reached out to Detective Marissa Chen, a veteran investigator with 22 years on the force. After hearing his concerns, her face grew grim. "Aaron, this is big. You're talking about a sitting judge. Proof will have to be bulletproof. And people at every level of the system, lawyers, officers, even politicians, might try to protect him." Together, they began cross-referencing public court records with Aaron's notes. Young men with no criminal histories were suddenly facing charges for theft, vandalism, or disorderly conduct. And most of them were minorities or from struggling households. The pattern was clear. Hawthorne was manufacturing legal problems for vulnerable teens and then stepping in as the solution. Aaron's next step was delicate. They needed evidence directly linking the judge to wrongdoing, but approaching him could alert him and destroy the case. After careful consideration, Detective Chen suggested involving Devon. With his mother's consent, Devon would wear a recording device during the judge's next visit, capturing every word. It was risky. Devon's hands shook as Chen fitted him with a tiny microphone. Aaron positioned himself in a nearby coffee shop, keeping the entrance in view. Chen waited in an unmarked vehicle across the street. Every second felt like waiting for a bomb to go off. At exactly 3:30 p.m., Hawthorne arrived, striding in confidently, scanning for Devon. When he found him, his smile seemed genuine, but Aaron could sense the manipulative undercurrent. Within minutes, Hawthorne began referencing alleged crimes Devon hadn't committed. "I reviewed your file personally," the judge said, voice heavy with authority. "Disappointed in what I see, but I can help, if you cooperate." Aaron clenched his fists in the coffee shop, heart pounding. This wasn't just corruption. This was predation disguised as mentorship. The judge was threatening a teen's future to maintain control. And that's when Hawthorne made the fateful call to a lieutenant, falsely claiming Devon had been misbehaving at the center just to demonstrate his power. Every word was captured perfectly. Aaron and Chen knew they now had the evidence that could take down one of the city's most respected men. But this was only the beginning. Gathering the recording was one thing. Building a case strong enough to survive prosecution would require months of painstaking work. Aaron realized that a rookie cop, alone, had just started a fight against a powerful judge who could ruin careers, lives, and futures with a single order. Yet, there was no turning back. Aaron Mitchell couldn't sleep that night. Every detail of the afternoon kept replaying in his mind. The judge's confident smile, the casual threat in his tone, the way Devon had flinched when Hawthorne referenced crimes that didn't exist. It wasn't just intimidation, it was manipulation, and it went far deeper than Aaron had initially imagined. The next morning, Aaron met Detective Marissa Chen at the precinct. They spread out all the notes, recordings, and public court documents on a table in the small evidence room. "Look at this," Aaron said, pointing to a chart he had made. Every teen Hawthorne approached at the community center over the last year, at least 6 of them ended up facing charges for things they didn't do. The overlap isn't random. Chen nodded slowly, her brows furrowing. "And these are just the cases we know about. There could be dozens more, Aaron. The way he's targeting kids, it's systematic. Someone at the top is abusing the system, and it's not just petty misconduct. It's criminal." Aaron pulled up Devon's recording on a small tablet. "Listen to this part again. He's fabricating complaints over the phone. He's using his position to create legal trouble where there isn't any. And Devon. He's terrified, but he stayed in that conversation for 20 minutes to get us proof." Chen placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder. "You're doing the right thing, but this is dangerous. Judges don't just get investigated by rookie cops without consequences. One wrong move, and you could be sidelined, or worse." Despite the risk, Aaron felt a sense of purpose stronger than fear. They began digging into court records from the past 2 years, cross-referencing the teenagers Hawthorne had contacted with those who had suddenly faced charges. Every case followed a similar pattern. Minor offenses suddenly escalated, public defenders assigned were always from the same small group, and the teens who tried to fight the charges usually ended up with plea deals that left a mark on their records for life. Aaron and Chen also discovered something even more disturbing. Several teens had been required to attend special sessions arranged by Hawthorne, meetings held privately, outside the courtroom, sometimes at his chambers or even in remote locations. The sessions were supposed to be for counseling, but according to the teens' testimonies, the judge had used these opportunities to pressure them further. Some accepted his help out of fear. Others felt trapped in a system that seemed designed to ruin them if they refused. Aaron couldn't shake the thought of Devin alone in that room with the judge. He clenched his fists. "We can't just stop here, Marissa. If we don't follow this through, more kids will be hurt." Chen agreed, her expression grave. "We need more than records and testimony. We need financial proof. These fake counseling programs he runs, they're probably funnels for money he's pocketing. We need bank statements, grant documents, anything that shows he's profiting while the teens suffer." Over the next week, Aaron visited city offices and local nonprofits under the guise of routine patrol research. He noted grant allocations and program funding. Meanwhile, Chen quietly used her contacts in the district attorney's office to access detailed financial reports of the organizations tied to Hawthorne. What they discovered was staggering. Over $2 million in state grants had been diverted to shell organizations that existed mostly on paper. The supposed counseling services were minimal and in some cases non-existent. The scale of the corruption shocked Aaron. Hawthorne wasn't just preying on vulnerable teens. He was stealing public funds intended to help them. "He's weaponizing the law and taking money while he does it," Aaron said, shaking his head. "How does someone get away with this for so long?" Chen sighed, "Because people trust authority too much. Judges, especially ones with a reputation like his, get a lot of blind faith. Everyone assumes they're doing the right thing." But the turning point came when Aaron and Chen tracked down Lieutenant Harold Graves, the officer Hawthorne had called during the recording with Devin. Graves admitted that he had received similar calls about other teens, instructions that seemed unusual but came from a judge, so he complied without question. "I thought I was just doing my job," Graves said, his voice low. "I didn't know he was targeting kids. I swear, if I'd known, I'd never have made those calls." This testimony provided critical insight. Hawthorne had been using his influence over law enforcement to manipulate the system, creating a network of compliance that allowed him to isolate and pressure teens. Graves also revealed the names of several officers who had unknowingly participated, giving Aaron and Chen a way to confirm the systematic nature of the scheme. As the pieces came together, Aaron realized the human cost. Some teens had lost scholarships because of falsified records. Others couldn't get jobs. Many had been broken down psychologically, believing they were criminals, simply because a man in power said so. Aaron visited several of the families, documenting their stories, taking care not to re-traumatize them. One evening, Aaron sat with Devin at his home. Devin's mother had insisted on being present, pacing nervously as Aaron and Devin reviewed the events of the past month. "Devin," Aaron said, gently, "you've done something incredible. You've helped expose a man who could have ruined your life and the lives of dozens of others. But it's not over yet. We need to stay careful. Hawthorne's powerful, and he won't give up without a fight." Devin swallowed hard. "I just want it to stop. For everyone. I don't want anyone else to go through what I did." Aaron nodded. "That's why we're doing this. You're part of the reason this ends, but you're also putting yourself at risk, and we have to be smart." Meanwhile, Aaron and Chen continued mapping the financial and legal connections. Each day revealed more about Hawthorne's operation. Court schedule manipulations, selective assignment of public defenders, even patterns in police patrols that conveniently placed vulnerable teens in situations where the judge could claim they were committing offenses. It was an intricate web of abuse, one designed to avoid detection and silence resistance. The danger escalated when Aaron noticed a suspicious vehicle parked near his apartment. He reported it, but it was a clear reminder. Going after a judge wasn't just professionally risky, it was personal. Someone wanted to intimidate him, and the stakes were rising by the day. Then came the breakthrough. The recordings, combined with the financial evidence and eyewitness testimonies, painted a picture no prosecutor could ignore. Hawthorne's manipulations weren't isolated incidents, they were a systematic scheme. The final piece was confirmation from other law enforcement officers and public defenders, many of whom were horrified to learn how they'd been used in his plan. Aaron leaned back in his chair one night, exhaustion weighing on him. "I just hope it's enough," he said quietly. "If the prosecutors don't act, all this evidence, all these kids, it means nothing." Chen placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "It will be enough. You've done everything by the book. Now it's just a matter of presenting it. And when we do, the city is going to have to pay attention." The next few weeks would test every skill, every nerve, and every ounce of courage Aaron had. Hawthorne was powerful, connected, and ruthless, but Aaron had something he didn't: the truth. And the truth, meticulously documented, could bring the entire corrupt operation crashing down. The tension in the city had reached a boiling point. Aaron Mitchell and Detective Marissa Chen had gathered mountains of evidence, but every new revelation made the danger feel more real. Hawthorne wasn't just a predator hiding behind a robe. He was a strategist, always thinking 2 steps ahead. And now, Aaron realized, the fight wasn't only about exposing him. It was about protecting every teen still vulnerable. That Thursday afternoon, the plan was in motion. Devin Harris was back at the Riverside Community Center, nervous but resolute. He had rehearsed in his mind exactly what he would say, how he would respond to any fabricated accusations. The recording device was hidden under his shirt, almost invisible. Aaron sat in the parked car across the street, eyes glued to the center's entrance. Chen was stationed in another unmarked vehicle a few blocks away. Every second felt like hours. At 3:30 p.m., Hawthorne arrived, his presence commanding as ever. He spotted Devin immediately, smiling in a way that seemed warm but carried an unmistakable edge. "Good afternoon, Devin," he said, walking over. "How are things with school?" "With your mother?" Devin answered cautiously, keeping the conversation polite but controlled. "Fine, sir. School's good." The judge's expression shifted. "That's good to hear. But you know, Devin, I've seen things about you that concern me." He leaned closer, voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "I know about incidents you've been involved in. Things that could get you in serious trouble. You need to understand, I can make these problems disappear, if you follow my guidance." Aaron's jaw tightened in the car. He had heard this before, but hearing it live, seeing the fear in Devin's eyes, was something else entirely. Every word was being captured, every pause, every subtle threat. "Sir, I don't. I haven't done anything wrong," Devin said, his voice shaking slightly. Hawthorne's smile didn't falter. "Oh, I'm sure you'll see things differently soon. I have the files. I know the details. And I know what's best for boys like you." He glanced around, making sure no one else was watching, then pulled out his phone and made the call Aaron had anticipated. Aaron's heart raced. He could hear part of the call through his earpiece in real time. Hawthorne fabricated a complaint, accusing Devin of threatening children at the center, painting him as a serious problem to the police on the other end. "Just a minor thing," the judge explained to Devin afterward, "but it demonstrates how easily these situations can get out of hand. That's why my guidance is necessary." The conversation stretched on for 20 minutes, with Hawthorne revealing more about his operations than he realized. He described private sessions he claimed were for counseling, named other teens he had helped, and even outlined how officers and public defenders were involved in maintaining the scheme. Every detail became ammunition for Aaron and Chen. After Hawthorne left, Devin collapsed against a wall, trembling. I did it, he whispered. I stayed calm. I got it all. Aaron rushed over, his heart still pounding. You were amazing, Devin. You've just given us the proof to stop him. But now, we have to act fast. Over the next several days, Aaron and Chen meticulously transcribed the recording, verified every claim Hawthorne had made, and cross-referenced it with financial records, court files, and witness statements. The pieces fit together perfectly. Hawthorne identified vulnerable boys at community centers, fabricated legal issues, manipulated officers and defenders, then pocketed grant money while pretending to offer help. They compiled dozens of victim testimonies. One young man, 17-year-old Marcus Lang, told them how he had accepted a plea deal for stealing electronics, a theft he never committed. I thought if I didn't, I'd be facing years in detention, he said quietly, his voice heavy with the weight of lost opportunity. Another, David Simmons, 18, had been accused of graffiti he didn't commit. Both had been offered counseling through Hawthorne's fake nonprofit programs. Aaron realized that this wasn't just a few isolated incidents. Hawthorne had created a system designed to prey on the most vulnerable, keep them fearful, and profit from their suffering. And he had done it for years without detection. The breakthrough came when Lieutenant Harold Graves and several officers who had unknowingly carried out Hawthorne's instructions agreed to testify. Graves admitted that he had previously found the judge's calls unusual but obeyed due to Hawthorne's reputation. I didn't know he was targeting kids, Graves said. If I had, I never would have made those calls. With this corroboration, Aaron and Chen approached federal prosecutors. The files, recordings, financial statements, and officer testimonies painted an undeniable picture. They had evidence of corruption, abuse of power, fraud, and civil rights violations. The prosecutors, initially skeptical, were stunned by the volume and consistency of the proof. Still, Hawthorne's influence made the case perilous. Senior officers warned Aaron that moving forward could ruin his career, and subtle threats followed him home. But every time doubt crept in, he remembered Devin's face, the other teens, and the lives Hawthorne had destroyed. Pulling back was not an option. They coordinated a full indictment. Federal agents moved quickly, taking steps to ensure Hawthorne couldn't interfere. When the arrest warrant was executed, Hawthorne maintained his calm facade, claiming disbelief. "This is outrageous," he told Aaron and Chen during the handcuffing. "You have no idea what you're doing." Aaron didn't respond. He only thought about Devin, the teens, and the thousands of dollars Hawthorne had stolen while ruining futures. The arrest was just the beginning. The courtroom battle would be brutal. During the trial, the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, financial documents, and testimonies painted Hawthorne as a predator disguised in judicial robes. Witnesses detailed fabricated charges, coerced plea deals, and private sessions designed to intimidate and control. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts: corruption, abuse of office, fraud, and civil rights violations. Hawthorne was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution to the victims. The city faced a civil lawsuit from the 43 teens who had been harmed, ultimately settling for $12.7 million, money that acknowledged the destruction of futures, reputations, and trust. Aaron received the Medal of Valor, the youngest officer in the department's history to do so, and Chen was promoted to lieutenant, taking over the public corruption unit. The community center installed a plaque honoring the courage it takes to stand up for what is right, even when the odds are stacked against you. But perhaps the most important outcome wasn't medals or money. It was the message that power without accountability is meaningless. One rookie cop, a determined detective, and a brave teen had exposed corruption at the highest levels, proving that doing the right thing can topple even the most untouchable figures. The city felt different after Hawthorne's arrest and conviction. For years, residents had trusted him as a pillar of the judicial system, believing his reputation for toughness and fairness meant he was untouchable. Now, the reality of his corruption had shattered that illusion. For Aaron Mitchell, the rookie cop who had started it all, the days following the verdict were a whirlwind of media interviews, departmental meetings, and community events. Yet, even with the recognition and accolades, the weight of everything he had witnessed never fully lifted. The Riverside Community Center became a symbol of resilience. Children laughed in the halls again, unaware of the shadow that had lingered over their safe space. The staff, led by Mrs. Ellen Carter, worked tirelessly to repair the damage done to the teens who had been targeted. Many of these young men, like Devin Harris, Marcus Lang, and David Simmons, were navigating life with the scars of Hawthorne's manipulations, but now they had hope. Counseling programs were reinstated, proper youth support structures were funded, and for the first time in years, the community felt protected. Aaron spent much of his free time visiting the teens and their families, making sure they had access to resources and guidance. He often met Devin at the center, watching him tutor younger students, his confidence slowly returning. "I still can't believe it's over," Devin said one afternoon, arranging books on a shelf. "I feel lighter, like I can breathe again." Aaron smiled. "You earned this, Devin. You were brave when it counted the most. Don't let anyone ever tell you that kids like you can't make a difference." While the emotional toll on the victims was immense, the financial implications for the city were also significant. The civil lawsuit filed on behalf of the 43 young men resulted in a $12.7 million settlement, a figure that shocked many municipal officials but was a necessary step to make reparations. Each teen received compensation for lost educational opportunities, ruined reputations, and psychological damage. The city also established a fund to monitor youth programs, ensuring that no one could manipulate them again. Inside the police department, Aaron's heroism became a case study. Senior officers, once skeptical of his abilities, now cited him as an example of integrity and courage. Detective Chen, promoted to lieutenant, overhauled the public corruption unit, instituting stricter protocols for oversight and accountability. They worked tirelessly to ensure that every report of misconduct, no matter how minor, was investigated thoroughly. Yet even with these victories, the journey was far from simple. Some of the teens struggled to recover from years of fear and manipulation. Marcus Lang, for example, had passed up college opportunities because of the charges against him. "I feel like I lost time I can't get back," he admitted to Aaron one afternoon, his hands shaking slightly as he spoke. Aaron didn't have a perfect answer. "I know," he said softly. "We can't give back the years, but we can make sure the next chapter of your life is something you control. You're not defined by what he did to you." Other teens faced public stigma from the false charges, and their families had to rebuild trust with institutions that had failed them. Community meetings were held to discuss reforms in the juvenile justice system, with Aaron and Chen attending as advocates for transparency and accountability. They pushed for mandatory review boards for juvenile cases, stricter oversight of judges' interactions with vulnerable populations, and better reporting systems for misconduct. The ripple effects of Hawthorne's actions extended beyond the immediate victims. Local nonprofits were audited, law enforcement officers received training on recognizing abuse of power, and city councils debated new legislation to prevent similar corruption. Slowly, the city began to regain the trust it had lost over decades of unchecked authority. On a personal level, Aaron reflected on how far he had come. From a rookie cop unsure of his place in the department to someone who had taken on a powerful judge and helped bring justice to dozens of families, he had proven that courage and persistence could overcome even the most entrenched corruption. At a small ceremony at the precinct, he received the Medal of Valor, the youngest officer in history to earn the distinction. Standing beside him, Chen received her promotion to lieutenant, acknowledging her mentorship, experience, and critical role in the investigation. Yet Aaron knew the story wasn't just about medals or money. It was about lives rebuilt and futures reclaimed. He continued mentoring teens at the community center, speaking at schools about integrity, and encouraging young people to believe in the possibility of justice. No one should ever feel powerless, he told a group of high school students one morning. Even when the odds are stacked against you, standing up for what's right changes the world. Devin, now a college freshman studying engineering, often emailed Aaron updates about his life. "I'm finally working on the robotics project I've always dreamed of," he wrote in one message. "I think about that day at the center a lot, and I'll never forget how you and Detective Chen helped me, and all of us." Looking back, Aaron understood the profound lesson the case had taught him. Corruption may be deeply entrenched, but accountability is possible when ordinary people are willing to act with extraordinary courage. A single rookie cop, a dedicated detective, and a brave teenager had exposed a web of abuse and reshaped a city's understanding of justice. The plaque at the community center read simply, "Courage is standing up for what's right, even when the odds are impossible." But for Aaron, Chen, Devin, and the dozens of teens affected by Hawthorne's actions, it symbolized something much larger. A promise that no one, no matter how powerful, was above the law, and that the future could be reclaimed, one brave action at a time. As the city moved forward, Aaron kept one thought close. Justice isn't just about enforcing the law. It's about protecting the vulnerable, holding the powerful accountable, and reminding everyone that doing the right thing is always worth the risk. The story of the rookie cop who took down a corrupt judge would be told for years, inspiring new generations of law enforcement officers, community leaders, and ordinary citizens. And in the end, it wasn't the medals, the settlements, or the headlines that mattered most. It was the lives saved, the futures restored, and the knowledge that courage, truth, and perseverance could truly change the world.